Welcome to the Job Fair, where we give job seekers and employers the space to tell their own stories and bring our listeners along for the ride. We're your hosts, Doug and Shauna. Let's dive into it.
And we're back. Welcome to episode 8 of the Job Fair. Hey, Doug, how you doing on your side?
Episode 8, baby. We did it. Welcome back, everyone. Before we go any further, I want to pause and salute my fearless co-host on the left coast. All right, we really gave y'all 8 episodes in the can. Wow.
Woohoo! I know. Seriously, it's been such a fun ride, and I'm loving every minute of it.
I can't complain. This has been a dream to me. I'm really a podcast co-host now, like never in a million years.
So now, before we get into today's topic, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for tuning in to last week's episode, which was our first subject matter expert, career coach, Joel Hoekstra. We got a ton of great feedback, and we really appreciate everyone's support thus far.
Yes, indeed. +1 on that. We love to hear everyone's thoughts, comments, all the likes, all the love. Please keep it coming. And if you haven't just yet, make sure you go check out that episode with Joel. He dropped a lot of gems on there. All right. So for sure, for today's topic, we're going to break down a really controversial yet common step in many interview processes for highly coveted roles. That is sample work.
I've been waiting for this one. It's such a good one, in my opinion, as someone who recently went through multiple job interviews and was asked to do a few take-home assignments during the hiring process. This is going to be a good deep dive.
I bet. Can't wait to hear about your experience, Shauna, firsthand in this wild, wild west of a job market these days. But before we get into that, we got to get around it, agree to disagree.
You know it.
Let's go.
You know it.
All right. Big tech will maintain its status as one of the most desirable industries to work in.
I'm going to agree because, I mean, the tech pay is something that's definitely hard to pass up. But I also think tech in general, with its innovation and creativity of what's on the horizon with AI, I definitely think big tech will remain status as one of the most desirable companies in the foreseeable future.
I agree as well. We're seeing a lot of the tech giants, the FANG companies, the Googles, the Metas, they are definitely taking their stake early on in these AI wars. We're seeing the rolling out different standalone products, Google Gemini, across all of Meta's apps. I believe there's AI functionality. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. Agree.
Yeah, look at that. Out the gate. All right, next one. A little more fun. Eating at home still makes more economic sense than eating out.
Disagree. No way. Not in this hyperinflated grocery era. No way. I would say that it's in many cases cheaper. It's crazy to say that, to eat out. I mean, depending on how low you're willing to go on quality, it's cheaper to eat out.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I'm a DoorDasher. Deliver it to me. I also enjoy cooking. But for economic purposes, I'm going to say I actually disagree. I do think it still makes sense to cook at home than eating out. Maybe it's just up here in the Bay Area. Things are still like $100 for, one meal for 2 people. So I'm going to disagree.
Wow. The case being made for the TikTok ban is warranted.
Oof. Oh, this is like a big one. Yes, agree. I do agree. I do think that a lot of the data and all that stuff is something, when it is a Chinese company, where does that all go? Not that I don't think a lot of our data is already on there that can't be found. I think regulations, full ban, I don't know. But I'm going to go with I'll go with an agree.
Likewise, I agree too. I really do feel like, to your point, there is a ton of our data here in the States that is already compromised. Sometimes I'm in awe at the things I see in the press that I'm like, wow, should that even be in the press? They have bigger fish to fry. But yeah, in this case, there's just a ton of information that's shared on TikTok. And I think that in some ways the US is trying to pick a fight with China. But there's a lot going on TikTok that should be domestically owned. So agree.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see where this goes further in the news and what happens in the next.
I think I read that they're working on copying the algorithm or rewriting the code for the algorithm or something to that effect. So they're like preparing to offload it to U.S. ownership. That's what I believe I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, not to mention they just had a layoff. Okay, well, wrapping us up with the last one. Dual citizenship will see mainstream adoption.
Disagree. I think that it's just, it comes down to economics. The folks who can really afford to maintain residences in two countries and all the travel and lifestyle and autonomy you need to make that happen is just, it cuts a lot of people out. Going mainstream, no. An uptick in popularity, yes, but not mainstream.
I 100% agree with you here as well. I know that I'm the one that asked this. I didn't have a full opinion on it, but I agree with you for I would say similar reasons. Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Good one. Not too spicy today.
Not today. Not today.
All right. So today we're diving into a really thorny issue again. It seems to have become more of the norm in the last few years, especially in those tech roles, those really highly desired and coveted roles. We're talking about case studies, the take-home assignments, the sample work, the sample presentations that you're asked to complete during a job interview process. Should that content that is created during those assignments be considered intellectual property?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, this is not a foreign question to me. As someone who has gone through multiple job interviews in the last year, I was asked to do at least 3 different take-home assignments based on various scenarios. And through that, I needed to really develop a strategy, a rollout, and an execution plan along with a deck. And I know it definitely has for me some extent only in tech, but the feelings on this is just not a fan.
Look, I've had to do some in my time, but I've also more recently been hearing stories similar to yours from many of my peers. Just imagine you're interviewing for a marketing job, let's say, for example, and they ask you to create a sample campaign pitch as part of the process. You put in the hours, it's great, but then for some reason or another, you don't get the job. Like, that's crazy to me. And then they can go on and use that creative.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the twist later. You see that campaign idea slightly tweaked being used by that company, right? That feels like a total gut punch in the stomach.
You see, and that's where it gets tricky for me. It's just, there's really complex questions around this in my mind. Number one, is it ethical? Number two, is it legal? And I mean, we just really, I want to take some time right now to break down some of those arguments. I'll play devil's advocate to kick this off. All right. Let's call it the work for hire argument. Many states' employment laws are rooted in the work for hire kind of framework. Companies need to assess skills, not just resumes, in the interview process. I think that's facts. I think that's reasonable. This is actually work that's done in a professional context, even though you're only interviewing. However, it's like an extended audition. You wouldn't expect a musician to get paid if they don't get the gig. So,
sure, but I feel like a musician owns their original song. This generates new ideas for the company's benefit. So I feel like there is a difference.
True. But in my mind, there's an implied agreement. Like, submitting the work means accepting it. But if you use it, if you only get hired on those terms, no one forced the candidate to share their best work.
I guess, but you can't expect a candidate to not want to do their best work if their chances of getting a job depends on it. So intellectual property just isn't about ownership, it's about fair use. While an idea is just an idea until you do something with it, once you evolve that idea, create it on paper, and execute it in some way, that becomes IP. Right? Asking for samples is one thing, but exploiting them without consent or compensation is a line crossed, in my opinion.
All right. So every rejected job applicant can or should sue. Is that what you're saying? Like, that seems crazy to me, Shauna, respectfully. Companies face risks too, though, here. They could come across bad faith candidates wasting their time.
Yeah, I think there could be something in place though with companies that says that if you choose to produce a take-home assignment, the assignment cannot be based on the real work scenarios or something similar to that. I do think that companies need to test skill sets adjusted to the role that they would be hired for, but you can use past examples of challenges that are already solved, right? You really want to know
Mm,
how they think, how they problem solve, which to be honest, we really don't know if that's happening today. We're just assuming that some of these could be current challenges they're looking to get free work out of. So we shouldn't assume the worst
that's
intent
what
here.
that's what I do for sure. Regurgitate the old stuff, change some
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think there's like a power imbalance here, right? A company can better absorb the risk than an individual hoping for a job.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you for the most part. Part of me does sympathize with the smaller companies that are really have more riding on making that correct hiring decision and really need to vet people a lot closer. One bad hiring can really tank a really small company. So that's something to consider too.
Yeah, I agree. Every company is not a Fortune 500 company with a legal team, and these kinds of issues could potentially put them out of business.
For sure, for sure. Now, companies taking some accountability could be way more transparent and forthcoming about how they approach, how they treat this sample work as, respecting the candidate's intellectual property. They could lead with an agreement or a statement and say, hey, we might use these ideas, but you won't get compensated unless you're hired. I mean, that's crazy to say that, but at least it's honest and upfront and getting in front of the potential for exploitation behind your back.
Yeah, but also seriously, like thinking through it, what could be done proactively on a candidate side?
All right. Well, one thing that's jumping out at me is candidates should be smart. Um, take it into your own hands.
They are smart, Doug.
They are, and that's why this is such a touchy subject, is because this stuff is valuable, what's being shared. But maybe you should really always err towards scaling back and submitting something that is your idea, but maybe more expendable, an expendable version of your idea. Enough to show your thinking, your strategy, display your skills, but really hold your best cards to your chest until there's an actual offer, is what I'd say.
What flag on the play? I definitely disagree with you here because I've been dinged for this before. I feel like it could be super risky. So I don't know if I agree with that
Really?
there.
Dinged how? You scaled back and you feel like you didn't get the job because you scaled back?
Yeah, it was specifically called out that
Oh,
like, oh, you like certain things, I would have expected this. And it's like I thought through, I answered the whole question. And then like when it came time, they were like, you were the second closest, but we in the take home assignment, blah 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 blah.
oh,
So it's like,
that's
do I give the
horrible.
full answer? I don't know. I mean, so risky.
Yeah. That's super tough. And I guess if it's a high stakes role that you really want, you don't want to hold back. You're willing to
Yeah.
take those chances.
Yeah, I mean, look, for candidates, job seekers out there, I feel you. This is a tricky position because, on one hand, you want to produce that stellar work because that's what's going to get you to shine through this interview process, right? But on the other hand, you have to be comfortable knowing that a company is going to make you feel like you're giving away your work for free. So, we and or I am not in a position here to tell you what to do, but from my own personal experience, I took the bullet for those roles that you really want, similar to what Doug said. I would produce a stellar take home assignment and be comfortable with it. For the roles that I was interested in, but wasn't sure if this was the dream role or if I was a front runner, I would still diligently work through that assignment. But instead of putting everything in that deck, I kept things very light in my presentation and talked through it. This way, a lot of that overthinking and strategy wasn't fully written down for future use.
All right. Now this I can dig.
Get on board, Doug.
I'm big on the best offense being a strong defense mindset for my sports fans out there. This is also talking through this all reminds me it's really close to the whole adage about if you don't have to buy the cow or what's it, Shauna? Help me here. If you why buy the cow if you can get the milk when they talk about dating, you know? So yeah, it's
Get the
kind of
milk. Get
rules.
the milk, people.
It's rules for engagement, I think, is the bottom line here. Look, if I'm looking at a high 6-figure paying job and I'm looking at, do I want to take a chance and leave it all on the field and potentially lose it all and be exploited for it, or hold back and not show my best self? I think sometimes you got to take that chance.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, look, no straightaway easy answers today, folks. This debate really highlights why that clear communication and maybe even updated regulations and agreements are needed in this space.
And for now, if you're facing this, know your rights, advocate for yourself, and support businesses with ethical hiring practices.
Yeah, we'll definitely revisit this as things develop, if they ever do, that is. Thanks for thinking really critically with us on this and doing a deep dive. Keep those ethical dilemmas coming. We're here for this conversation.
Yes.
All right. And don't forget, please take a second to check us out at the Job Fair. That's FARE.com. Check us out. Shoot us a message. We'd love to have you on our virtual set. Share your career journey or your company's valuable and unique story.
100%. That's it from us, folks. Episode 8. Getting close. See you for episode 9. That's a wrap.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.